Hello out there, everyone. Today we're going to be taking a peek at Criterion Collection's Blu-ray release of The Player, a film directed by Robert Altman that was released in '92 and features Tim Robbins, Greta Scacchi, Fred Ward, Whoopi Goldberg, Peter Gallagher, and even Lyle Lovett, and also Dean Stockwell, and a host, a veritable plethora, as it were, of Hollywood actors and such that show up playing themselves, and it's really quite terrific. This is one of the best satires Hollywood has ever produced about itself, and of course it represented a return to form by Robert Altman, who really had sort of suffered through the 80s. Of course, Popeye was a pretty big flop, even though I think it's interesting that is a film that I think people are now coming around to. But in any case, Robert Altman really returned to the sort of pedigree that people expected him to stay in throughout his career, because of course he was director of such films as Nashville and MASH, along with even The Long Goodbye, I think, with Elliot Gould. You know, he's a fantastic film director, and one of my favorites. In fact, he did another film that I really enjoyed, a Western called McCabe and Mrs. Miller, which I've reviewed also on my channel. It's also a Criterion release. But in any case, The Player is just a wonderful send-up slash thriller of the whole Hollywood system, and it starts with a just remarkably ambitious opening shot that is just perfectly executed, and also features some interesting commentary about why it's starting in that capacity as well. There's just a lot of humor in the film that I think cinephiles will truly appreciate. Now, Tim Robbins, of course, anchors the film, and he gives a great performance alongside Greta Scacchi. And essentially, it's a film about a hotshot studio executive type, Hollywood agent type that is, essentially feeling like he lost his mojo a bit. And there's another agent who is coming over from another studio who's apparently seemingly vying for his job. And so you've got a situation where the lead character, played by Tim Robbins, is feeling a little paranoid, and on top of it, he's getting weird nastygrams from somebody who apparently had sent him a script and was not pleased with the response or lack thereof by the studio, and in particular by the Tim Robbins character. And then there's an accident that occurs. Incidentally, another actor who's in this film is Vincent D'onofrio, who's one of my favorites. He gives a wonderful performance as a very jaded and cynical Hollywood screenwriter, or a screenwriter trying to get his scripts produced and filmed. So as you can see here, I'm fighting off mosquitoes, so I'm going to try to wrap this up rather quickly. The Criterion release, again, as per usual, just a fantastic job. The picture quality and audio quality are top shelf. It features this little booklet here with an essay and some still art. I love that sort of old Hollywood look to it, and as you can see, it's just got a Sidney Pollack is in it, Richard E. Grant. It's just a terrific film, expertly directed and produced. And as you can see here, the transfer is based on a 4K original camera negative scan, and it has an original 2.0 audio. It just looks and sounds fabulous. I've been a big fan of this film ever since I saw it in theaters, and I'm glad that I've got it on my shelf. And as you can see, Criterion again just does a wonderful job with their packaging. Again, I would just suggest that for those of you who have never seen The Player, I highly recommend that you give it a watch. And if you have, this is the release to watch it in. When you rewatch it, there's a bevy of special features as per usual with Criterion. But I think this represents some of Altman's finest work I think it's probably his most accessible film because, unlike films like Nashville and even Shortcuts, this is more of a straight-ahead narrative. It's based on a novel, so I suppose Altman, had his hands tied a little bit toward a more conventional story in this film. But I still think his imprint on really the whole film itself is, quite obvious, and he was truly one of those filmmakers that never, I think, got his proper due. I would argue that Altman is one of the best directors Hollywood has ever seen, and I certainly think this film is one of his best. So on that note, I just hope everyone out there is well. Please do take care out there, stay safe, be kind, and keep watching cinema.